All right, so thanks everyone. Today is episode 50, and today we're going to cover what's new with PSTN Conferencing. I'm joined by my colleague, Oscar Ruiz Garcia. Thank you, Oscar, for coming.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Before we get started, I want to make sure that we remind you that we do have the Bing Pulse going, so we'd love to know where you're from, who you are, and a little bit more about you. And then also we do have live Q&A going, so make sure that you submit a question and we'll try to get it answered. If we don't get to your question during the show, we'll make sure to post the answer to your question in tech communities later after the show airs. So let's get started. Oscar, please tell the audience who you are and what you do here at Microsoft.
Hi, my name is Oscar Ruiz, and I'm a program manager in the Skype for Business team, and I'm the program manager for this PSTN Conferencing service.
That's awesome. So how long have you been here at Microsoft?
8 years.
8 years. And how have you been working on this service or other related services that entire time?
Well, I started working in Skype for Business 5 years ago.
Yeah.
They don't feel like 5 years ago. It feels like 1 or 2.
Just 1 or 2.
Yeah, I love it. It's an amazing team. It's an amazing product. I
Yeah.
hope you guys agree. And I've been working in the conferencing space for 3 years now.
Yeah.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit, for those who are new to PSTN Conferencing in Office 365, exactly what is it?
So the PSTN Conferencing service is basically the service that allows participants of online meetings to be able to join those meetings using a traditional phone, meaning that they dial a phone number as we all used to do it. And they can join the meetings by using a conference ID, and they can be anywhere around maybe they are outside in the road, they're not nearby a computer, so they can use their phone to basically join the meeting without having to be nearby a computer.
Right. And so the benefit of this is just like the online participants get to at least talk to the audio participants without necessarily them having some special client or their desktop computer. They just do it from any phone or mobile phone.
Yeah,
right?
totally. Like
Yeah.
we'll have our phones, cell phones. We sometimes have landlines still, so we can use those ones to join those meetings.
Yeah.
So that participants can reach them being basically anywhere.
Yeah. Now, audio conferencing isn't like some new innovation. It's been around for a long time.
Yes.
But what makes it special in Office 365?
Well, in Office 365 is, first of all, the easy of setting it up. It's extremely easy to set it up. So if a customer is onboarding to us and we're going to have a demo about that, it takes minutes to set it up.
Yeah.
And our reach as well. We have a wide range of phone numbers that are available all across the world for customers to be able to use them. And it's a very straightforward and very simple service. We have spent a lot of time trying to make sure that this is a very efficient and fast experience for customers to be able to basically join their meetings fast without problems.
Yeah. So how does it work as part of the subscription of Office 365?
So there are 2 ways basically of having PSTN conferencing. There is the add-on portion of it, on which if you're a customer that have E1 or E3, you can add on the PSTN conferencing on top of it. And then there is as well, it comes bundled with E5. So if you have E5, PSTN conferencing will be included as long as you are in a country where PSTN conferencing is sold.
Yeah. What I like about that is that most companies have an audio conferencing service,
Yes.
and they pay per minute for every inbound call and every outbound call, and which is fine, but it's actually really nice to have it as part of the subscription, so you're already paying for it, so you don't have to pay any additional minutes. And then what you talked about earlier is really important too, is the ease of use. So the end users can just go into Outlook and schedule a meeting normally, and all the details are automatically pre-populated in the meeting request, right?
That's a really good point, and that's something that we have seen that our customers love about it. Like they just have to go to Outlook, they schedule the meeting, and the phone numbers are there. It's plain and simple as just clicking the Skype for Business online meeting button, and your phone numbers, your conference ID, a link to see all of the phone numbers that are available for people to join it. Those are available there, right there in the meeting invite.
Yeah, so that's the canonical experience. You know, like an IT admin has an E5 subscription.
Yes.
They go in and they just say, enable this for my users. I know you're going to walk through a demo later. And then their users just go to and schedule a meeting, and automatically everything is in there.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's correct.
Right. Now, today we're going to really dive deeper into what's new about the service. So we're going to make an announcement right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically what we're going to start offering, what's going to be available for BLEA customers starting on October 1st is a new offer model. As you were mentioning already, right now our offer model has been that your customers will pay a monthly fee for the service, and they'll have unlimited dial-in. They'll have some minutes in some countries included for dial-out. And then they'll be able to do dial-in as much as they want, and it's kind of a monthly fee business model. In this case, what we're going to introduce is what we call a pay-as-you-go offer, on which customers will be able to use the PSTN conferencing and pay on a per-minute basis, both in dial-in and dial-out, as well as dial-in toll-free. And this offer is basically geared for customers that do have a need for the PSTN conferencing service, but they don't have the need of using a wide number of minutes or a large number of minutes. So for them, this offer might be best fitted for them, on which they will be able to pay for as much as they consume. So to give you a little bit more details on this new offer, we have here on the slide a few examples of how this works.
Okay.
Right now, previously, when we didn't have this offer and you had that subscription-based, all dial-in, as I was mentioning, was coming in as unlimited, right? So in this case, if we focus here on dial-in on the bottom right, using as an example US, France, and Argentina, all inbound is pay as you go, pay per minute basically. So either being toll free or toll numbers, all dial-in will be basically charged on an as you go basis. And dial out as well. If we have an organizer that is in the US and they are doing basically a dial out to a participant in the US as well, it will be charged at a pay of per minute. As well as if we have a person joining a meeting in the US doing a dial out to France as well, they will be charged on a per minute basis. So this is a very kind of flexible model because it allows you to pay the minutes that you use.
Yeah. What's cool about this offering now is that for non-E5 customers, so customers who have E1 or E3, and they just want to test it out and try PSTN conferencing for a while, now we have the ability to just do it on a consumption model, or as you mentioned, pay as you go.
Yes.
So this way they can try it out, they can roll it into a subset of their organization and not necessarily have to consume a full E5 subscription.
Yep, that is correct.
Yeah.
And just to remind the audience, October 1st is when this offer will be live for VL customers, basically.
Yeah, so October 1st, we're launching it, and we're also publishing the rates on the internet at that time as well, so people can get visibility to how much on a per minute basis and to what the rates are for the outbound and inbound calls.
Yes.
Great. Awesome. Okay, so now PSTN Conferencing has been in market nearly for almost 2 years now.
Yes.
And the good thing about being in the cloud is that we could just release innovations very quickly and they just show up, right? The IT administrator doesn't have to do anything to benefit from the new service and functionalities. There's no additional cost. So since we've launched, we've had lots of new features, but I'd love to get caught up and tell me what else has been shipped in the last 12 months.
Totally. So we have a very nice list here of what we have launched in the past year. I'm going to give a very quick summary as I go through the list, and then we're going to deep dive a little bit into some of those. To start, we have increased the availability of the service to 72 countries in terms of where can the service be bought from. We have an additional bigger number of dial-in locations in terms of countries as well, but in this case we have reached 72 countries where customers can purchase the product from.
Yeah.
We did as well release what we call an end-user PIN reset. Before these features, admins were the ones that were able to reset the PINs of organizers. But in this case, we released a new portal that allows organizers to go to a webpage, basically, and there they can reset their PINs themselves. We did release as well what we call entry-exit announcement, tones, which previously we had announcements in the forms of voice. In this case, we are simplifying the experience of someone joining a meeting, meaning that when you join the meeting, instead of announcing your name or your phone number, we'll play a tone. Yeah. And this is something that we have supported on premises, but this is something that we have gotten feedback as well that customers wanted to see in online as well.
Cool.
We're excited as well to support PSTN conferencing in regionally hosted meetings. That is quite a very interesting concept. We're going to deep dive a little bit more into that one because it's kind of a little bit of a not so trivial scenario, but in this case, it's allowing a company to be able to spread around different data centers across the world and having their meetings being the closest to them.
Yep.
We do have the meeting migration service as well, and we're super happy of having this service out because it has been always a challenge in the past that because the dialing coordinates are included on email, once they change, previously it was kind of like a little bit of a hassle to customers because they had to change them as well, but the emails are out. So previously we had a end user tool that users were able to run to reschedule their meetings and refresh their dialing phone numbers. But in this case, we launched a service that basically allows IT admins to do that on behalf of users without the users having to take an action. And all of that is triggered basically from this server side, which is a really nice feature. We have got really good feedback on this.
Yeah, great.
And then we have 3 features that are right now in the preview program. I think most of the audience is aware of this program, but it's an open program where customers can sign in and take an early look about the features that we're about to launch. We have the lobby support for PSTN conferencing participants. We have as well a feature to disable toll-free numbers for specific users, and another one that allows the IT admin to restrict the level of dial-outs that people can do from within a meeting of a specific organizer.
Wow, that's amazing. I talk to you pretty frequently, so I know this is no trivial task. Just releasing not only doing such a wide global expansion of the service offering, but just continuing to just rapidly innovate and just drop in new features. So that's cool.
It is challenging, but we all love it,
Yeah.
and the team is super happy to be able to work on this service. Everyone in the team is.
All right, so let's dive a little bit deeper into some of these features and functionalities.
Yes, so as another quick overview on this one, like I mentioned, we are now available for purchase in 72 countries. We're super excited about that. Of course, they do cover the major regions. At the same time, the dialing numbers stock that we have of phone numbers that are available for customers to be able to use them for joining meetings via the PSTN has reached right now to 90 countries, and we have more than 400 cities.
Wow.
So just to dig a little bit deeper on this, when a customer onboards the service, we automatically provision a set of phone numbers to them. And it is usually one of around 62 countries is what we're provisioning right now. So automatically you get those phone numbers. On top of that, customers can go and acquire more numbers to suit better their needs. And in this case, they can go and acquire more phone numbers from one other cities in the US, for example. And from that point of view, we have 400 cities basically available as locations there. We do have dial-out support to 190 plus countries as well, so virtually almost everywhere in the world. And we have as well expanded our IVR, which is basically the kind of the part of the service that asks you like, hey, welcome to the audio conferencing service. Please enter your conference ID. We have expanded that right now, and we support 44 languages and dialects on that aspect as well. So that's something that customers can customize as well, depending on the audience of who is using the service.
Pretty cool. So, I mean, and that really speaks to Microsoft's global reach and scale. So the ability for us to rapidly go in and scale to 72 countries, 90 countries and 400 cities with dial-in locations, that's pretty amazing. And to do that in less than 2 years, effectively.
Yes.
All right.
We try our best. So now the next feature, as I was mentioning in the list, is end user pin reset. And this is a relatively straightforward one, but it's pretty useful. So in this case, what we have done is that the meeting invites, the emails, do contain a link to this page. And you can see it here on the top left side, on which there is this new forgot your dial-in pin hyperlink, as well as the dial-in conferencing setting options on the Skype for Business client points to this page. So when an organizer clicks on this link, they are directed to this portal where they basically can go and reset their own PIN. And like I mentioned, this is something very easy for them to do, and it takes a little bit away the the point that the IT admin is not involved or doesn't have to be
Right.
involved on this particular step.
So no more service requests to please reset my PIN.
Not in online,
Yeah.
yes, not in
Which
online.
is a pretty simple task, but if you're doing that for thousands of individuals,
Yes.
it could be a pain.
Yes, totally. And we have gotten really good feedback on this one as well. This is something that it's supported in on-prem, so it is supported on-prem, but right now we have released that capability right now in online as well, and we're proud to have it available there.
Cool.
Then the next one, the meeting migration service. I'm a very huge fan of this one, to be honest. It just doesn't cover PSTN conferencing. It covers as well your VoIP side of the meeting. And in this particular case, there are several scenarios for which this can be triggered. As I was mentioning already, it's kind of an automatic way to update the existing meetings of users that is triggered from the server side. So the IT admin is basically the one that can go and do it. And in terms of scenarios, like when this is done, it is done when a PSTN conferencing license is assigned or removed to a specific user. It is assigned as well when a provider is changed, meaning that if you had a user on a third-party provider with the Skype for Business integration with ACPs, when the provider is changed to Microsoft as well, we do run this service as well automatically. And as well when a user is being moved to a different conferencing bridge. And in this case, we trigger it, and when it's triggered, what it does is that it replaces the dialing phone numbers on the meeting invites, and it resends the meeting invites to basically everyone in the audience of that particular meeting.
Awesome. This is really cool. So now, again, this is another way how being in the cloud and innovation that we could deliver to the cloud and really reduce the administrative burden from the IT staff from having to do these tasks. So moving from a third party. I really like the fact that they can do this very quickly and I'm assuming with a couple clicks.
Yes. Another important point here is that it can be disabled on a tenant-by-tenant basis, so customers can decide if they don't want to automatically trigger those updates. They can go and basically disable it. At the same time, it can be manually triggered. So the IT admin at any point in time can go and say, I'm going to trigger the specific meeting migration service for this specific user at this given time, and they can work through that as well. So we are trying to give the flexibility to the IT admin of having being done automatically or having being done in a more controlled way.
Cool. All right.
So now we deep dive a little bit more into the PSTN conferencing service in the context of regionally hosted meetings.
Yes.
This one is a little more interesting, and we have this diagram here to try to explain it. So basically in this case, the goal of regionally hosted meetings is that a tenant can be spread around in different regions. And the goal for that is because we, of course, know that companies are global. So they have users in Europe, they have users in America, and they have users in Asia. So we want those users to have their meetings being hosted on data centers that are the closest to them. Of course, because that helps reduce latency and that improves basically the performance of the meeting itself. As part of that, we are doing the same with the PSTN access to those meetings. And to accomplish that, the model that we're supporting is basically that when a tenant becomes a regionally hosted meetings tenant, meaning that it becomes a tenant that is spread apart to different regions, and I'm going to start using NOAM as North America and APAC as Asia. When they are spread around, we do spread around as well basically the concept of the PSTN conferencing bridge. So from that moment on, they will have two bridges, one on each region, that gets attached to the meetings of the users in each region. So for example, if I have my users in the US, they will be basically assigned to the bridge of North America. And if we have users in Sydney, Australia, they will be tied to the bridge in Asia Pacific.
Thanks.
And what we can do with this is when someone is joining a meeting of the people in Australia, the meeting basically will be hosted completely, including the PSTN access part and the mixing of what we call the PSTN, completely on the Asia Pacific region, meaning that it gives the better performance to the meeting.
Right.
On the other side, if we have Mario, for example, having a meeting in the US and someone dials into that meeting, they will be reaching out as well the conferencing bridge in North America. And for Mario as well, his meeting will be hosted in a data center that is kind of the closest to his location, improving the performance of the meeting.
That's great. So things like the latency and when the someone on the bridge hears what another person is saying is minimized.
Yes,
right? Yeah.
that is correct.
Great. I know that's been a highly anticipated feature,
Yes.
and now that will work. Are there any licensing implications that come with this?
No, not at all. As long as you become a regionally hosted meetings tenant, this is completely available to you. Of course, if you have the PSTN conferencing ahead of that.
Okay, perfect.
And then the next one is the lobby support for PSTN conferencing callers. This one is in preview right now, so if you are attending in preview, you should see this functionality right now. If you are not attending in preview, we'll talk at the end, I believe, about how you can join this program. And in this case, this is a feature that has been released in on-prem. We have gotten a lot of feedback that people wanted it in online, and of course, that we had been working on it. And basically what this feature does is, when a PSTN participant joins a meeting that has been logged and the PSTN participant is put in the lobby, we do surface now that PSTN participant in the roster. And the organizer or anyone else that has joined that meeting via the Skype for Business client can admit or deny the entrance of that person into the meeting.
That's good, because sometimes you have a private meeting and you want to be able to make sure that you moderate when someone can actually hear what's going on in the meeting. And so now with this feature, the PSTN conference participants who don't join on a client can be moderated in an effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Completely. And then now we jump to a second feature that right now it's in preview, which is disabling toll-free for specific users.
Yeah.
This one, we did it because we got really good feedback that customers wanted this. So before this feature, customers, of course, are able to go and acquire toll-free numbers. Just as a reminder, you need to have PSTN consumption for that. But once you have it and you acquire the toll-free numbers, those phone numbers get assigned to the customer's bridge. And from there on, anyone that schedules meetings against that bridge, basically, they will have the full range of locations that we offer for them to be able to join the meetings, and they'll have those toll-free numbers as well. Customers have asked us, basically, to have a way to control a little bit more the access of these toll-free numbers. And following up from that feedback, we are now releasing into preview a feature that basically allows to do that. So the IT admin can go and choose on a user per user basis which user can use a toll-free number. And basically the experience on that is, if I'm an IT admin and I go to a user and I disable the use of toll-free numbers, what's going to happen is that for that specific person, the meetings that person schedules won't have in the final local number page those toll-free numbers listed.
Okay.
So if I'm a participant of that meeting, I go and I click on the final local number page. I see all of the phone numbers and the toll-free numbers aren't there. At the same time, the toll-free numbers will no longer be included in the meeting invites of that organizer. Of course, we don't want them to be on the emails because we don't want to encourage people to try to join them.
Yeah.
And if by any reason, let's say you are a person that had them before and the IT admin made the decision that, well, maybe you don't need them anymore. If someone remembers that phone number or someone wrote it down and they try to dial it and they try to use the conference ID of an organizer that is disabled from being able to use toll-free numbers, we will prevent the participant to joining the meeting, as it is kind of part of the whole scope of this feature.
Yeah, and because, as you mentioned, consumption billing is required, and we do have a session on that. So if you guys are interested about that, you can go and look at one of the episodes on consumption billing where Mike Davis came and talked about that in a lot of detail. But effectively, this is a way for you to control cost, and so that you won't necessarily have to draw down the minutes and set policies effectively that some users from some departments can have access for it because they might have a business justification, like the sales department.
Yes.
And whereas the accounting department, a little less likely to do that. So this is great. And I know that there's another similar feature for restricting dial out.
Yes, that's the next one in the list. And this is as well a feature that we have implemented based on feedback, in the sense that customers and IT admins have come to us and say, hey, I would like to have a way for me to be able to restrict basically the concept of dial outs. Particularly interested because of the point that you mentioned about being able to control costs as well within an organization. As a follow-up to that, basically what we have put into the preview program now, it's a feature that precisely allows an IT admin to decide 3 levels of controls for dial outs. This applies to all of the dial outs that are done from all of the meetings of a specific user. So now I can go and choose a user, select a user, and I can set the dial out controls of that user to 3 levels. The first one, which is the default level, which is what we have been supported before this feature is out, to allow international domestic dial outs. That's kind of self-explanatory. So the second one, which is kind of a new control, which is allow domestic only dial outs. And when I say domestic, I'm meaning to the location of the organizer. The organizer or any participant that joins that meeting will be able to do a dial out as long as it is a dial out that it's basically reaching a phone number within the same country as the location of the organizer. And then, of course, we have the restrict of dial outs. Some IT admins basically would like to disable completely the ability for someone to do a dial out from within a meeting. And we do offer that as a new control as well with this feature.
Yeah, and that's pretty great because now you can mix and match, I assume. So some users have some capabilities while others have different capabilities, and it can be more appropriately matched to the function of the role.
Yeah,
Right.
totally. And this, as you mentioned as well, combined with the toll-free numbers feature that we just mentioned, it allows a company basically to be able to do that and be able to have different profiles of their users according to the needs of them.
Right. And this is pretty differentiated. Not a lot of companies or other audio conferencing providers can do this. Is that true?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, I know that's true. So the last thing that I want to talk about, just for if anyone is interested in joining the preview, you can go to skypepreview.com and actually sign up. So any tenant can sign up for it, and the instructions are all laid out. And so if you're in the preview, you actually get all the capabilities that are in preview functionality, and you can test it out, like Oscar said, and play around with it, see if that's appropriate for you. And then once we roll it out, it'll be globally available to all the tenants.
Yes. So we really encourage you to join it. We love the feedback that we get through the program, and we are super excited of releasing new features to the program. If you're interested, we'll love you to be the first ones to try it out.
Yeah. All right, so we have a few minutes. How about we just do a quick demo on how to set up PSTN conferencing for those that are interested?
Totally, and the demo is perfect because, as I was mentioning, it takes just a few minutes. So we have a few minutes. That's more than enough to do that. So I'm gonna switch right now to my browser here, and I'm gonna walk through basically 2 quick steps about setting up PSTN conferencing. Of course, the first step for the IT admin is to have licenses. They can get licenses through the trials, basically. There is a way for them to get a number of trials through the web, for them to trial basically E5, for example.
Yeah.
Or, of course, they can purchase licenses. And once they have the licenses are available to be assigned to users. And that's basically everything that you have to do to enable a user for PSTN conferencing. You go to the basic Office 365 Admin Center. You go basically to, I'm gonna go back on this one. This is where the IT admin lands when they go into the admin center. They can click here on users, and here I can see all of my users that are on my tenant. And let's grab this user right here, and I can go and say, hey, I would like to assign a license for this to this user. In this case, I can go and basically edit the product licenses. And in this case, this is a E5 trial license. Of course, if it's a paid license as well, the experience will be very similar. And in this case, the only thing that the IT admin needs to do is to flip that switch. He now assigned an E5 license to this user. We can see here down at the bottom that we have the Skype for Business PSTN Conferencing license on as well. So it will get automatically assigned to the user as part of the assignment of E5. And then I click Save. And I close. And that's it.
That's it.
Just by doing this user is now enabled for PSTN conferencing. Takes a few minutes for the provisioning to go through, but next time the user schedules some meetings and they choose to do it as a Skype for Business meeting, that meeting will contain dial-in phone numbers that participants can use to join the meeting.
Yeah, and I just want to be super clear, like, the admin doesn't have to email them and with a code or some secret handshake.
The users will get. You might want to do the secret handshake still, but there will be an email that will get automatically sent to you, the user, letting them know you have been enabled for the service. Here's what the phone number that has been assigned to you as default, which is the one that it's included on the meeting invites. Of course, the final local number link will be included in all of the meeting invites as well. And the PIN as well will be mailed to that user. So as an IT admin, I just do this and my users should be ready to go.
That's great. Awesome. We have a couple questions in the Q&A manager, so I'd love to pick your brain on these. Can I mix subscription users and pay per minute users?
Yes, you should be able to have users using either one subscription or the other.
Okay, that's great. So that allows them to, at least for some portion of them, and if there's like a smaller subset of employees that may not need a full subscription for whatever reason, they can do pay per minute. Great. What is the difference between a shared number and a dedicated number?
That is a very good question. As I was mentioning, when the tenant gets primarily on board, initially on board into the PSTN conferencing service, we give them a set of phone numbers, 62 phone numbers right now, all across the world. Those numbers are basically what we call shared numbers, meaning that they can be used as well, they're assigned as well to other tenants. In terms of capabilities, the shared phone numbers, their primary languages or backup languages cannot be changed. And when I mean like the primary and backup languages are basically the languages that you get when you dial into the phone number.
Yep.
So the language for those ones cannot be changed. That's kind of a difference between dedicated
Because
and
they're
shared.
shared amongst many tenants,
Yes.
and so we keep them static.
Exactly.
Okay.
At the same time, a tenant can go into the Skype for Business Admin Center and, as well, in a matter of minutes, get new phone numbers and assign them to the bridge. When they do that, they are able to basically get what we call dedicated numbers. Those numbers are phone numbers that are completely dedicated to that tenant, and they offer more customization, like the languages, for example. If I'm an IT admin and I acquire a phone number that's a dedicated one, I can go and change the primary language and choose any of the 44 languages, dialects that we support, and they can tweak that at any given time.
Perfect. Last question before we run out of time is that can you just support meetings that are just PSTN conferencing participants only?
Yes, that's another feature that we have been supporting the service since in launch. So It's not a new feature, it has been there. It came up through feedback as well. We have gotten a lot of requests for customers that were very interested into this. So we do support that. By default, when a user gets enabled, they will always have a setting basically that is allow PSTN only meetings, meaning that if that is enabled, PSTN participants can join that meeting and have that meeting without having anyone else joining via either a Skype for Business client or via an authenticated user through the PSTN.
Perfect.
Yes.
Great. Well, there've been a ton more questions in the Q&A manager, but we're out of time. So again, just keep the questions coming, and we'll make sure to follow up with a post with all the questions answered, as well as a link to this recording. So thank you, Oscar. This has been great.
Thank you for having me again. I loved it.
Cool. So, all right. So the next episode, before you go, the next episode will be our last episode before we get to Ignite. And so in order to get you up to speed, we're going to be doing a Know Before You Go. So if you plan on being at Ignite, we'll talk about all the sessions that are going to be there. And we're going to talk about a guide for you to how to navigate all the community activities that you'll be able to participate in. So I truly encourage you to kind of tune in to kind of get ready and prepare for a successful time at Ignite. I'll be there, as well as lots of the other hosts that have been on the show, and so we're really looking forward to seeing you there. And have a good week. Thank you.